Sup, you chuckle fucks? It's your boy Dark Red Ghoul here with What If Issei was a mysterious captain, or, well, vice commander, but not the point. Was a mysterious vice commander, but not the point. Let me begin to What If. Let me shut the fuck up and let me begin. So we begin into mostly Issei. Issei is right now in the carnival with mostly Moriyama. They are both kind of just mostly going around the different not video games, different games to play around. Now this is where Moriyama, she is a little bit confused, shocked, and how mostly Issei is winning some of these games. And some of these games are rigged as shit. And yet his over amount of strength is quite strong. He's literally is quite strong. One time, this is where, well, there was a crowd of people, and this is where Moriyama had to back away from the crowd of people. She bumped into Issei, and this is where her back, or mostly her kind of like hand, managed to touch mostly Issei's like mostly body on accident, because, well, she almost dropped the penguin and almost lost her balance, but managed to catch herself by kind of putting her hand onto mostly Issei's like chest, and felt like the muscular kind of build that he has underneath. The black shirt is quite literally not that tight, but of course she felt the muscular build, and this is where her face becomes red entirely. She almost lost control of the penguin also because of her face being red. Issei managed to grab the penguin away from her and says, "You okay?" This is where Issei looks down with a very gentle look of if mostly she seems to be kind of scared, or maybe there's a wariness or whatever. And of course, mostly Issei had a hint of very wariness. This is where, well, her face becomes more red and say, "No, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I'm perfectly fine." This is where, well, mostly she's laughing kind of nervously, which Issei kind of noticed and says, "Okay." This is where, well, mostly the crowd people manage to move out of the way, while mostly Issei's carrying the penguin. Now, of course, where, well, it's a huge ass penguin, but Issei's managing to push it up in the air so it doesn't hit people. Which people, every time a bunch of little kids in the carnival really rushes over towards mostly Issei Moriyama to see the giant penguin, and they think this penguin can float in the air because Issei's carrying it up in the air. So a lot of little kids just rush up and say, "It's a penguin, it's a penguin, it's a penguin." This is where, well, mostly Moriyama has never been getting this much attention, which Issei just ignores entirely. He sometimes just puts on mostly his purple hood, because he does have a hood on, so mostly the little kids don't bother him too much while he's kind of hearing music. This is where, well, mostly Moriyama noticed what Issei's doing, and she kind of wants to take off the hood, but this is where, well, she doesn't do that. Instead, she just watches how a bunch of little kids are thinking, "This penguin's amazing, this is a god, it can fly." This is where, oh, Issei decides to kind of tease the little kids and decides to kind of like move the penguin, saying, "You little kids, if you are bad, then I shall smite you. I am a god penguin." This is where, well, all the little kids get nervous, but some of them just seems to be even more cheerful, and they're all kind of running around mostly Moriyama and mostly Issei, with the penguin being up in the air, which mostly Issei's holding it up with one hand. This is where, well, the penguin just waddles like an actual waddling penguin, because that's what Issei's moving around. This is where, well, Moriyama thought it was so cute of how Issei's doing something like this, because she has never seen this side of Issei. This is where, well, she's only seen his perverted side. Unless he had other kind of personality sides, and that mostly perverted side was only a distraction to distract people away from his true side, it would make more sense. But she doesn't really know. But this is where, well, we go into mostly a time skip of Issei managed to win a couple of games and other stuff, and decides to kind of carry it for Moriyama. This is where Moriyama has multiple like plushy animals. This is where, well, she is shocked. If this was her kind of like middle school self, or her kind of elementary self, mostly herself, she would have loved the plushies. She would have actually adored all the plushies, because she used to love a lot of plushy animals, especially the giant penguin that mostly Issei won for her. Now, of course, there's another giant animal that he won for her, and it was kind of like this horse. Like a kind of like horse, not a pony, it's a horse kind of plushie. And he managed to win it on a game that he had to kind of be on top of a bull and just make sure the bull doesn't like fucking like push him off or he gets damaged and any of that. No, he was holding on to that bull for not dear life. He was literally riding that motherfucker like it's nothing. This is where, well, mostly Issei says, "Giddy up!" Da, 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 dun, 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 dun. You get the point. Because motherfucker did not let go of the bull, and also he kind of knows about the bull's weak points. So, of course, where, well, he kind of uses that over his advantage. And, of course, managed to make the bull ride a lot easier with him. On top of him. Now, of course, when it came to other people trying to do the exact same thing to try to impress their girls, they got flung over. Whee! Thrown over the fucking railing, thrown over, what's it called? Well, one person actually managed to stable on the bull, in which mostly the bull kind of noticed Issei, and Issei just gave him like hand motions to fling this motherfucker out of the way, like give him a smooth ride for a second, and then fling his ass. This is where, well, Moriyama noticed this, and this is where Issei was having this like evilish smirk on his face. Which Moriyama was confused until she saw the bull literally give this man literally a gentle ride. Now this guy was like, what's it called? Like the skinny, scrawny kid somewhat. Of course he had glasses and he's trying to like show off to a girl and other things. And of course, well, Moriyama can only think about the worst because the bull ran and then just stopped and fling his ass off of his back. This is where Issei grins and just chuckling to himself, which Moriyama has never seen this evilish side of Issei. Issei is quite sinister half the time. Now this is where the guy was flung over and smashed into a pool, like a pool of water. Now Issei knew that exactly there was a pool of water over there. He was kind of giving what they call hand signs for the bull to understand. Because it seems the bull understands hand languages when Issei was trying to kind of see if the bull actually understands. Because he knows that animals are usually quite smart. So of course, giving him different sign languages, it looks like the bull can understand. So of course, well, he grins after seeing that guy gets flung over. Whee! This is where, well, mostly Issei was chuckling. But Issei had to leave, so of course, he kind of did some sign languages that he's going. And of course, just wave at the bull, which the bull just nodded and just like stayed around, kind of still flinging people over and other stuff. Giving people some of the chance to ride before yeeting them out of the way. But yeah, this is where, well, Moriyama has never seen how Issei was this intelligent with animals and any of that. This is where, well, Moriyama kind of questions Issei, well, intelligence. Issei says, "I'm stupider than a rock." This is where, well, Issei literally said that. This is where Moriyama knows her eyes, because Issei is not stupid. It seems like he's quite of a genius. At the same time, he's quite skilled in a lot of things. She doesn't understand why he thinks of himself being kind of dumber than a rock. But that's not the point here or there. But yeah. But this is where, well, mostly Issei just says, "I don't know. I just feel like it half the time." This is where, well, Moriyama was confused and after hearing that kind of answer. She looked up to Issei, but Issei just was looking at something else. But yeah, he wasn't looking at any of the girls that were on their dates with like their boyfriends or anything like that, or any of the single girls. He just always gave this like gaze of just looking around, making sure there's like no one trying to follow him or trying to attack him. It always kind of gave her that feeling. That's what Moriyama always got that feeling. It wasn't him just looking around, getting a quick glance at the girls or anything. He literally glances at the guys and girls, just making sure that no one attacks him or no one follows him. It seems that Issei is quite interesting, more interesting than normal. She just thinks that this whole date was going to be a flop, thanks to the fact that he was going to be more of a pervert or whatever. And it seems the date is going perfectly fine, somewhat. She doesn't understand too much, but she's happy that Issei isn't being a really total pervert. But we go into mostly a time skip. Well, mostly a time skip of later on with the carnival. Issei is kind of bringing Moriyama towards, well, mostly they did kind of eat in the carnival. Some places where it looks kind of good, the food, which Issei did try out, but yeah. Now, he did eat a lot and did kind of waste a lot of money, but he didn't really care. He was actually quite rich. He did have a lot of money for someone that goes to school and blah, blah, blah. But he has kind of a couple of money and other things. Moriyama did brought like a couple of bucks with her. Just make sure that mostly she would at least have a good time by herself if Issei was too much of a pervert. But no, he was really interested and so cool and other things. He was also quite smart with the bulls by giving him that sign language. Of course, well, he seems to be quite skilled with the bull ride anyway. He was also really good with like half the games, even though half of them were literally rigged to the point that no one was able to kind of like beat them. But he beat them in an instant without a care in the world. His intelligence was shown to be quite smarter than half the people who actually played these games, and those people who actually rigged the games themselves didn't know that there was hidden stuff in, well, the rigged games. This is where, well, we'll see Issei was managing to outsmart a lot of people. Of course, this is where Issei didn't even gaze at her opie or any of that. Which she did kind of wear something kind of revealing, but Issei did put a coat around her. So, mostly, since it was getting cold, mostly he took off his coat and just put it around her. This is where, well, showing off that he was always wearing a long black kind of sleeve. Because, yes, it looked like a black shirt for normal, but it was actually a sleeve that he was wearing. This is where, well, Issei kind of says, there, that should be kind of warm you up enough. This is where, well, Issei was acting kind of like a gentleman, but she really couldn't tell if this was just a disguise to lower her down, her guard, or any of that. But no, he didn't really care at all, even once. This is where, well, Issei said, I don't know if you're going to be able to carry all those plushy animals. You should probably call your friend to kind of get them for you. This is where Moriyama says, you're not going to walk to my house for it? Issei's like, not really. This is where, well, Moriyama says, wait, why? Isn't that what a gentleman does? No. What a gentleman will do, an actual gentleman will wait for the person's friends, family, or someone who will actually kind of pick them up. Because you don't want the first person that you dated to actually kind of find your location of your house. You should be able to know them much better than just only one date and knowing them from just your school. You should learn about them in a personal level than just bringing some random dude to your house that you just kind of met and went on a date. Because that's literally stupid, in my eyes. This is where Moriyama can actually see the mostly logic of this and see that Issei is not an idiot. Now, this is where, well, making Moriyama realize that Issei is actually quite logical and actually isn't stupid in any case. This is where, well, Moriyama says, what if it was a girl and she wanted to go to her place? Yeah, that ain't happening. This is where Moriyama can see that Issei is literally not stupid. At all. He's the definition of not being stupid at all. This is where, well, before mostly Moriyama can call her parents or mostly her friends or parents or whatever, she knows that fucking Catherine is somewhere in the bushes. She would tell Issei to go away, that she would be fine, but it would look so suspicious if mostly she just did that. So, of course, she's gonna call her kind of mom or dad to pick her up. And, of course, they would just wait at the park. And this is where, before anything would happen, this is where, well, a group of people actually walk out of, like, some bushes and tree line. This guy with kind of, like, darkish, kind of, like, pinkish hair appear. He had, like, kind of, like, these bluish, pinkish eyes. They're, like, mostly, not purplish. They're, like, a darkish red, pink eye color. And this is where, well, a group of mostly his friends are appearing, like, a total of, like, 30 dudes. This is where, well, he's in his eyes and says, what the... This is where, well, mostly the group of guys says, hey. This is where, well, mostly, or not a group of guys, the guy with pinkish hair, who looks to probably be the leader, kind of says, hey, you, brownish hair girl with the cod giant penguin. How about you go out on a date with me? Don't you remember me, Moriyama-chan? This is where Moriyama looks at this person with kind of disgust and unnerved look, while mostly Issei narrows his eyes. This is where... Mostly Issei appears right in front of Moriyama to kind of protect her from mostly this guy's face or whatever. And this is where, well, Moriyama was kind of calling her parents. She looked like she was calling the cops, but mostly her parents. And of course was thinking of calling her older brother because this guy came back to bother her. This is where the guy says, hey, I'm talking to you, not you, you bastard. Move out of the way before I hurt you. Issei scoffs and says, hurt me. Bring it then, you weakling. This is where, well, Moriyama heard it, and this is where, well, one guy from mostly this guy's group rushes towards Issei, and before he can even do anything, a leg smashes the guy's face, knocking him out. Issei didn't even try. He literally just stomped this guy's face into the ground. This is where, well, Issei said, I said, try any of that shit again, and I'll make sure you all stay in the hospital 6 feet under. This is where, well, mostly Issei's hair is kind of floating up a bit. It looks like he has a tick mark under his, like, mostly under his eyes. This is where, well, he looks quite pissed and annoyed. This is where, well, mostly the guy scoffs and says, whatever, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Moriyama-chan. This is where, well, and she's not talking to you, so fuck off. This is where Issei said. This is where, well, mostly the guy grit his teeth and says, "Why you? Do you even know what gang I'm from? I'm from the, what's it called, Rose Petal Gang. You're going to fuck up, you're going to be, you're going to get fucked up by my group." And do I look like I care? Issei looks like he doesn't give a damn one bit. This is where, well, mostly, well, the group of gangsters just gets tense up and looking angry at mostly Issei. Moriyama is thinking to grab Issei's arm, but before anything happens, a motorcycle, they hear like this motorcycle, boom, boom, boom. And this is where, well, mostly a bunch of people are confused. They're like, is that a motorcycle? Before anyone can understand what's happening, a motorcycle appears right now, kind of smashing upon like two of these gangsters are rushing forward from the cherry blossom or whatever. Yeah, I think I call them cherry blossom. And this is where motorcycle smashed them to two of these guys. Someone lands on the ground and kind of say, "Oi, oi, oi, oi! Trying to attack my vice commander. Such a cheap shot, isn't that right, Issei?" Issei scoffed and says, "Taiju, what are you doing here?" Taiju gets up, and he is literally quite taller than half of them. He's 18, and he is the height of like 6'4". He is really tall. Issei's only like 5'7", and, well, not 5'7" this one. He's like 5'9", and of course he's 17. This is where, well, mostly Taiju gets up, and this is where he's wearing his like red coat. We're having the symbol of Black Dragon in the background. Of course, having also like a dragon's head on it. Or not dragon head, like a dragon body on it. But not the point. This is where Taiju says, "Oi, oi, oi, oi. So I see that these people are trying to bother you, Issei." Issei said, "Yeah, they are. And I'm guessing you're here to give me a helping hand, isn't that right, Taiju?" Taiju says, "Of course. Why wouldn't I give my vice commander a helping hand?" This is where almost Issei grins and says, "Then let's do this. Let's hurry up and whoop their ass so I can be done with life. Moriyama, I think we should, how should I say, break up. For right now, I'm truly not interested in dating. I thought this whole date was just mostly being friends and trying to get to know each other. So think of this just as like a friendly hangout today. It's not truly a date. You didn't actually kiss me or any of that, which don't do that. Save that for someone you actually truly love, because entirely I thought this whole thing was just a mess with your friends over there in the bushes. Other than that, I'll be taking care of these weaklings and you can go on with your life. Just walk away." Moriyama looked at Issei confused. Of course, she was a little kind of heartbroken that Issei literally kind of said that this wasn't really entirely a date and more like a setup. That's what he just said. Mostly set up mostly as a friend kind of hangout. And this is where, well, she was going to walk away, but she wanted to call the cops, so mostly Issei and this other guy named Taiju would be fine. But this is where, well, Taiju rushes at these, like, guys and start bulldozing through so many of them. 30 guys was nothing towards Taiju. Taiju just bows through a lot of them. This is where a lot of them try to attack Taiju, but this is where Issei kicks them in the side of the head, knocking them out. Grabbing one dude from the collar, smashing him down to the ground, punching him down to the ground. Now, Issei is quite physically strong. Now, of course, he's jumping out of the way, punching, dodging, and easily kicking the shit out of a bunch of people. He is quite flexible to dodge people, but yeah. But for right now, I'm going to have to end it off because I have to go somewhere. Other than that, bye soon, yeah.